Thanks so much for tuning in to the Happiness Happens podcast. If you're loving what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I would be so grateful if you could rate and review the show. It takes 2 seconds and it tells me what you're loving and what you're wanting more of. I'm your host, Simona Costantini, and I'm obsessed with understanding what it means to be happy. In 2018, I went through a massive journey and awakening, and I found myself having to relearn who I was and what I really wanted to do with my time on this planet. The truth is, I spent a lot of time looking happy on the outside, but not really feeling the same way on the inside. So I knew there must be other people who felt the exact same way as me, and I've learned along the way that there really are. And now I get to interview them and other thought leaders in the space on my podcast every single week. I'm a recovering people pleaser turned life coach and podcast producer. On this show, we get into what it means to be happy, the purpose and intention behind happiness, how to live a happier life, and we hear about all the hard moments that have shaped people to become resilient and living out their passion every single day. Think of this as your one-stop shop to help you live a more purposeful, inspired life. This is the Happiness Happens podcast. Are you ready to dive into this inspiring conversation? Let's go. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining me back this week for this amazing conversation. I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful week. I am really excited about this conversation because we talked a lot about something we never talk about on the podcast. We have this week Lorraine Dallmeier, and she is the award-winning CEO of Formula Botanica. It's an online organic cosmetic formulation and business school, which has trained over 11,000 organic cosmetic formulators and indie beauty entrepreneurs in over 170 countries. Voted the most influential person in natural beauty for 2020 and awarded the Digital Achiever of the Year award for the cosmetics industry by Google, Lorraine is on a mission to teach the world to formulate. So I will be fully transparent. I did not know anything about formulating or the beauty industry much at all before we hopped into this conversation. And Lorraine just shared so much beautiful insight about how it is that you start a company like this. What is so important when you're formulating? You know, where to even begin if you want to start your own skincare line. But she also shared so many nuggets of wisdom that all entrepreneurs, I think, need to hear, especially because she has such incredible success and her business is thriving. So if you want an episode that is going to completely inspire you and leave you with so many ideas on how to really excel and really, hit those goals that you want to be hitting, this is the episode for you. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. Let's dive on in. Welcome, Lorraine, to the Happiness Happens podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. It's going to be super, super fun. I would love if you could tell everyone, just to get us started, a little bit about the journey that's brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, so I guess we start my journey 10 years ago.
Wow.
So I am a biologist and an environmental scientist by training. And 10 years ago, I went on maternity leave for the first time with my son, who is now going to be 11 years old this year. Unbelievable.
Wow.
And I sat there and I was sat on the sofa, nursing him, feeding him, constantly thinking, this might be my ticket out of my 9 to 5 somehow. I had great jobs. I've worked around the world, lots of responsibility, really well-paying jobs. But I just don't like working for other people. Like, I really don't like working for other people. So I thought, this is my ticket out of here. So I sat there with him on the sofa feeding him, and I was watching The Apprentice, the BBC's Apprentice. And I was watching them and I thought, if these guys can do it, then so can I. So they were making an iPhone app. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make my own iPhone app. Why not? Nothing's going to stop me with my 4-month-old baby in tow. I think I was sleep deprived out of my mind. And so I did. I went off and figured out how to make an iPhone app. And I thought, what shall I do this on? And I thought, I'm going to do it on DIY beauty because I love, mixing up lots of ingredients at home. I know a fair bit about this. Let's go with this. So I made a DIY beauty app. I hired a developer agency in India who came and helped me. And a year later, ta-da, Beauty Craft app launched in the App Store. And so I thought, okay, we're onto something here. I went back to work and I thought, okay, now I want to go to the next level. Now I want to make my own skincare brand. How do I do that? I have a background in biology, but I don't formulate. I'd been doing lots of DIY stuff. I thought, let's now figure out how to make professional beauty products. There must be an online course for this. That was the way it went for me. And lo and behold, there was. And I took it and loved it. And at that point, I got pregnant again, had my second son, and I then had the opportunity to buy the school that I trained with. And I realized by that point that it had changed my life already. I already had a following online. I had 20, 30,000 readers a month on my website. I was growing my social media following. And I thought, yeah, actually, this has legs. This could be my side hustle. So I bought the school as a side hustle. It was supposed to be like my hobby business, which is quite patronizing now. I hear myself say that in hindsight, but that's how everyone treated it as well. Because there I was, a mother with a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old baby. So I went back to work with my side hustle from maternity leave, and they ghosted me. At that point, they stuck me in the attic with nothing to do. So here I'd gone from, one of the most senior people in the company, lots of responsibility, managing, $1 million budgets, big teams, to literally nothing. And I kept going, give me something to do. I need something to do. And they were like, well, we're really sorry, Lorraine. We just don't have anything. Just, something will come up. Just go and sit at your desk. And I'm just not that person. So at that point, I knew I needed to make my side hustle a success. So I threw myself into it. And that's really where it all began.
Wow. So you're probably really grateful that they did stick you in that attic so you could work on your own thing and nobody had any idea what you were doing.
Believe me, I didn't at the time. I was like, what's wrong with these people? I've been here for years. Why would they do this to me? But then obviously, now in hindsight, I look back at it and I realized it was the making of me, because I had the opportunity to really throw myself into my own business. Yeah. And then it was a side hustle. But now, I run a multi-million-dollar company. I have 40 staff. It's been an enormous success. I've won awards for what I've done. We're accredited. It's been so exciting. So yeah, it was good in hindsight.
Really, really, really wonderful. And how did you decide, that you wanted to build up such a big company and be training so many people, and really growing your brand from an app to like a full-fledged company,
In some respects, I suppose it was always in me to just push. I'd always been like this at work as well. I didn't do things by halves. I always thought I gave 100% at work. Now I realize even then it wasn't 100%. Like what I do now is 100%, but it was always in me. The other thing that I will say is that the market pushed me in that direction. So very much, there was so much demand that the company grew because it had to keep up with it. And people were literally, and they still are, banging down the door because everyone wants to learn how to formulate cosmetics. And anyone can formulate cosmetics. And I'm on a mission to teach the world to formulate.
I love that so much. And it's so true, especially in this last year that we've had. You have so many creatives and makers and creators just realizing that they have all of these different dreams, so many different things that they want to create. And so it's kind of this really cool shift in the way the world is going. As devastating as it is, it's so many people have created something that they never imagined that they would. And so when you teach people how to formulate, like what goes into that? You know what I mean? Like, I know that's a loaded question because I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it, but how does someone even begin?
I think it all begins with the ingredients. And that's certainly what we see as well. People get really inspired by the ingredients and they love being surrounded by leaves and herbs and roots and seeds and petals. And once you have that love deep in you, you can't let go of it. It's bursting out of all of our students. And then you start very basic, like you start with what we call anhydrous products, where you don't have water in your products. And those are easier to make, they're easier to preserve. So I'm talking about balms, oils, butters, the salves, that sort of thing. And then you start to formulate with water and you learn how to thicken water, turn it into a gel, how to stabilize it, how to make foaming products. And then you combine oil and water together to make lotions and emulsions. And actually, it's really done in those simple stages, and it's just about experimenting and having fun, a bit like cookery, really, because when you
Yeah.
first get started, you don't immediately start making really complex pastry dishes. You start with something basic, right? And that's the same with formulation. You build it up in that way.
I love that. Very, very, very cool. I think that's such a fun blend of all of the things that you love into one. You know what I mean? You still get to use your scientific background and blend it with your love for beauty. And I think that's such a perfect mix together.
Yeah,
Perfect formula, if you will.
exactly.
So in terms of, starting out your business as a side hustle, quote unquote, and growing it into achieving, over $5 million revenue, what kind, if any, money mindset blocks or challenges or different things did you experience that may have, hindered you from getting to that next step? Because they say that the hardest thing is to make your first million. And then after that, it's kind of just like, okay, off we go, right? I don't know. Is that the truth?
I suppose in my particular case, I was in a very privileged position, which is that I watched my parents start their own business when I was 8 years old. And in the mid 80s, my father lost his job, and he went through, it was a bad time economically where we were living at the time in the Netherlands. And so he ended up saying, you know what, I'm just going to start my own business. And he did from the spare bedroom with my mother. So they went into business together. And I remember, sending faxes for them. We were dating me a little bit here, helping them, do basic computer entry. This is the late 80s. And then I watched them build that up. And by the time I was 20, in my early 20s at university, they sold their business and they retired young. So I never really went into my business with particular money mindset issues. I think if you'd said to me in year one, oh, you're going to make millions with this, I would have been like, what now? But you grow with it. Saying that, we've undergone massive growth. I've had the minimum levels of growth I've seen are about 40% year on year, but the max has been, I think we had one year where we had 200% growth.
Oh, wow.
So I just roll with it because it's such an exhilarating roller coaster ride that you just go with it. And that's exactly what I've done. So I've never really sat here and thought, I don't want to make all this money, or I feel so bad about making all this money, or anything like that. I've never had major money mindset issues. So when I started to hear the term, I was a bit like, what's going on? Why do these people have issues making money? And I find it fascinating. And I see it all the time in our community, because the women who go, and it is predominantly women who go through our courses, they do struggle with that money mindset issue. But thankfully, I don't.
That's good. No, that's really good. Because you know what? I think it's at the same time, it's kind of like your product in like your people in general are a product of what they see, right? And you're a product of what you're surrounded by. And so by you just being surrounded by parents who started their own dream, realized that, this is what they wanted to do, and just kind of never really looked back, in your mind, it's always this idea of, well, why couldn't I do it? You know what I mean? Like, of course I can. Of course I can.
Yeah. Yeah. And I watch them very much say, right, we want to retire in our 50s. We don't want to work until we're in our mid 60s or late 60s now, even. We just want to retire young. And there's even a movement for that now called Financially Independent Retire Early, FIRE, which I think is awesome. And why not? Why should we slog our guts out for decade upon decade if we can just do something awesome, change the world, get a good payout for it, and then take it easy?
Exactly. And enjoy your life. Because I ultimately, like, what is the whole point? You know what I mean? The whole point is to enjoy your life. And, you don't start a business to be slaving away and like not making the money you want to be making and, being exhausted. You start a business to have that freedom and that time, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Super important. And what would you say is the difference with the people that are in your courses that come through your programs? What do you think that the difference is in between like someone who doesn't believe that their dream can make a difference, and then someone who, doesn't really know where or to get started,
Yeah, I think the majority of people who come and study with us start with just thinking, I'm going to learn how to make some products for myself. And that is cool because, you can really empower yourself by by learning how to make your own lotions and cleansers and shampoos and toners. I think then after a while, when they start to really realize how easy it is, but also how much they can pour their own love and creativity into it, because that's like the secret ingredient really of any good formulation, they start to think, hang on a minute, I can change people's lives with this too. And that's the thing I hear the most from our graduates. And I always ask them this question, what feedback do you get from your customers about how you change their lives? And they all go, oh my goodness, Lorraine, you would not believe the emails I get, the phone calls I get, what people say to me face to face. I made this cleanser, I made this balm, I made this lotion. And people come to me and go, my skin has never been better than this. It's taken care of the issues that I've had for decades. And that's heartwarming. So I think people start off thinking, I can just do this for myself. And then suddenly they realize they can actually change people's lives with it. And they do. I mean, some of our graduates stay really small and just formulate for themselves. Others are going for global domination,
Yeah.
Our most successful graduates are called By Bee Beauty, and they're here in the UK. Although we're in 176 countries now, which is insane. And they've just raised $7 million in investment funding, and they're being rolled out in 1,800 targets in the US, which is
Wow.
insane. They're in Sephora globally. So you can keep it really, really small. You can go for global domination and anything in between, because there is no right or wrong here. It's just about what success means to you and what you want to get out of your business.
I love that so, so, so much. And it's true. You really hit a good point there that, some people just come in and do something for themselves. And then other people have this massive dream and this massive idea. And I think it's good to note too, that it's like both of those are so amazing. You know what I mean? And both of those are so great. And the fact that they can coexist together, that not everything has to be this huge, massive empire, right?
No, absolutely. You should build the business that makes you happy. And that is a successful business, as long as you're obviously sustainable. And that also means being in business in several years' time and making money. But if you can achieve all of those things and keep it super small, then all the power to you, because if that makes you happy, you should do that.
I agree with that. I do. I really agree with that. And so, you're helping people create their own, different lines of lotions and skincare, shampoo, and all that kind of stuff. Do you have a company of like your own products as well that you sell?
No.
Okay.
No, I wanted to. And obviously I was getting to the stage of doing that just before I bought Formula Botanica and took it on. No, I would not have the hours in the day now to do that. I mean, my core business is teaching now. And I am going for global domination. I will put that one out there. I want to teach the whole world to formulate. And I'm just going to go off on a tangent here for a minute. But if you look at the beauty industry over the last 150 years, the pharmaceutical industry really took over cosmetics, and they started to very much tell you, you have to be a chemist. You have to wear a white lab coat. You have to be stood in a lab to make your lotions and potions. But nothing could be further from the truth, because actually people can very easily do this for themselves in their own home once they've set it up hygienically and they've got the right setup for their formulation home lab, as it were. But the beauty industry has been trying to tell us for years that they know best and you have to be a scientist to do this, but it's just simply not true, because for millennia before that, people made their own beauty products too. So I'm very much on a mission to undermine or take on the mainstream beauty industry and really put that message out there. You don't have to be a chemist. You can make a beautiful lotion, beautiful balm, beautiful cleanser at home. And you don't have to wear a lab coat and be a chemist to do that.
That's really, really great. And so when someone starts or comes to you and wants to, create all these products and you're teaching them, how do they get started? Like, are there specific lists of ingredients based off of what, they want to create that you would recommend? And then, are they formulating for the most part out of their home? And like, just like that. Yeah. Take us through what that process looks like, because I always have this in mind. I'm like, it would be so cool to create, a shea butter lotion or something.
Yeah.
But then it's like, where do you even begin? You know?
Yeah. Well, we teach people how to formulate. So we don't teach recipes. And
Mm.
that's a big distinction in that. So when you enroll with us, if you're on our foundation diploma, you will get a shopping list. And we actually work with an ingredient supplier who ships worldwide. And they send out a starter kit actually for our foundation diploma, which is awesome because it's a really nice way for our students to get started. But then we sort of go, well, these are the basic ingredients that you can start with. But you know what? There are so many more. You can start with shea butter, but you could also be working with cocoa butter, mango butter, ukubu butter, kokum butter, the elipe butter. There are so many different ones. And the same with the oils. We might tell you to start with almond oil since it's so ubiquitous and it's so common in the beauty industry. But then, branch out into bariti oil and I don't know, plum kernel oil and strawberry seed oil. Before you know it, you'll be like, I want all of them. And that's where it gets really addictive, I have to say. And then, you start to sort of think, okay, well, I've learned how to make a basic lip balm. Let's take a lip balm as an example because it's super simple. You blend an oil, you blend a butter, you blend a wax together, pretty much in equal proportions. There's your lip balm. But then you start to think, well, hang on a minute. Okay, now I'm going to create a brand. And my brand, for instance, is colorful. So I want a colorful product. I'm going to take the almond oil out. I'm going to replace it with bariti oil or avocado oil or something that's really beautiful and colorful. And then you might think, well, I want more of a fragrance in it. Now I need to maybe add an essential oil, but I have to do that in a low dosage because it's for the lips, and the lips, obviously the skin is thinner, et cetera, et cetera. So we teach you how to layer that formulation from scratch and design something that is truly uniquely yours. And that is really empowering because that means that I don't end up, when my graduates send me products, I don't end up with the same lotion 60 times. I end up with 60 different products because they've poured their love and creativity into it. And then to answer your other question, do they make them at home? A lot of them do. But some people, once their brand gets to a certain size, they outsource that to a manufacturer. And again, there is no right or wrong. I interviewed May Lindstrom the other day, who runs an awesome indie brand in California. And she very much said, I have 40 staff now. I will never outsource manufacturing. It is my responsibility to make sure that every product is absolutely perfect. And she sells globally. Wow. So she has very much made the decision not to do that. And then others very much say, you know what, I don't want to churn out thousands or tens or hundreds of thousands of units a year. I want someone else to do that for me. And then you go to a manufacturer to hand it over to them.
That's very, very cool. So you really can go through two different lenses, through two different ways to create the product. And then so when you're teaching your students how to formulate, it doesn't include like the business side of it, right? Like you're not, or does it?
It does, yeah. We also have a business course. So we teach formulation. We have 9 different courses actually, and a membership site, which is for continuing professional development. And so we also have what I call our Indie Beauty MBA, where we teach you how to turn that formulation into a business. And we'll walk you through branding, marketing, manufacturing, financing, retail distribution, the whole lot. So you can actually say, right, here's my toner. How am I going to turn that into a viable business? And we'll hold you by the hand and help you to do that.
That's incredible. I absolutely love that. And in terms of managing like all of your different worlds together, how do you sort of balance that, science and beauty and entrepreneurship world? Because I'm going to imagine that your days are probably very busy. And how do you start to balance that?
They are very busy. I do a lot of this actually as well, a lot of PR work, a lot of outreach. And to answer your question, how do you balance that? Everyone wants beauty products that work. So you have to get the science right because you want your product to be safe. It has to be safely preserved. You want it to be stable. You don't want it to split or smell weird or change color or do something funky that you weren't expecting. You want it to be sellable as well. And for it to be sellable, it has to be, safe and stable and properly put together. But you also want it to be natural. And that's where you bring the sort of botanical element into it and think about, as I said earlier, the flowers, the petals, the roots, the seeds, the leaves, and bring those into your formulation. And then the entrepreneurship, it sort of flows out of it. I think most of the people who study with us might originally think, I could go to university and study cosmetic chemistry. but then I'll be a chemist. I won't be an indie beauty entrepreneur. And that's
Mm.
the fun thing in what we do, because we blend it all together. And at the end, not only do you have a product that you've been taught how to make, but we've also taught you how to sell it and how to turn that into a brand that can actually change your life and then go and change other people's lives. So yeah, from the perspective of what we teach, I think it blends together perfectly. In terms of my days, I just love running from one thing to the next. So I love the fact that there's so much variety as well. And yeah, I lurch between the science, the beauty, the tech. I love tech, and the entrepreneurship too. And that's what makes it fun ultimately.
Yes, I completely agree. It's super, super fun, especially bouncing from task to task. I feel like that's just keeps your day exciting and keeps your energy exciting. You know what I mean? And so I'm just curious, like based off of that, whole idea, when people come through your courses and they create a product that smells amazing, that is amazing, that, really does all of the different things in all of the different areas that they want it to be in, are you still formulating on your end? I know you don't have like a business, but how are you continuing to sort of make sure that you're continuously bringing everyone the most powerful learnings that you can, especially in an industry that's I feel like is so heavily regulated, right? Like there's so many different things that you have to constantly keep up with.
It's a very good question. And I do that by having a very large team. So
Mm.
I personally don't get a lot of time for formulation anymore. As you can probably imagine, my
Yeah.
days are pretty packed. But I have a whole education team, and they're filled
Mm.
with tutors and chemists and formulators. And we even have an in-house formulation club. So once a month, they'll choose a theme. They'll say, what are the students talking about at the moment? And they'll either go and get an ingredient or a theme or something, and they'll all formulate along those lines together and then share their learnings with each other. And that is really cool, because it's like in-house continuing professional development. But obviously, we then use what they make also and put that into our membership site. We put that on social media. We showcase the fact that we have this really cool education team that's always doing really interesting things.
That's really, really cool. I love that you have your own education team. I feel like that's so key, especially when you're teaching other people. So you really are always staying up to date on a trend. Someone has a question, you're able to literally answer it right away for them after doing some testing.
Yeah.
Very, very smart. I love that a lot.
Well, we're a school. We need a team that teaches and delivers the courses, because I can't
Oh no.
run the school, run the team, teach everything, do the marketing, be on social media. I mean, it just wouldn't work. So yeah, they're responsible for delivering on the courses and making sure that people get through them, looking at KPIs, making sure that the courses remain up to date. I mean, we're currently going through a massive upgrade of our platform. After that, we'll go through a massive upgrade of all of our courses. We'll refilm all the courses next year. We're constantly improving, because we have to stay ahead of the game.
I love that. I love that so much. Very exciting. It sounds like you have a lot of great things coming down the line. I'm curious what your organic formula for creating a multi-million pound empire is.
Well, I have not really dabbled much in paid marketing. I will say that a lot of our success, in fact, most of the success at Formula Botanica has come through organic marketing, and I thrive on organic marketing. So it's very much a blend of content marketing, content creation. So we blog continuously, we're podcasting. I have a green beauty podcast called Green Beauty Conversations. We're doing live streams, we're doing videos, we're on Clubhouse, we have our own club there, constantly putting out content. I think when I first took on Formula Botanica, we had about 1,000 hits a month on the website. Now we have 500,000 visits or 500,000 page views a month. And that just goes to show that from all that content, people are just flooding in. And we're right at the top of Google for pretty much all the search terms you'd want through that really good content. Then there's email marketing, constantly just pushing out really awesome value. It's not about selling. I mean, we rarely try and sell to people. We have a few enrollment periods a year and that's it. In the meantime, it's just about delivering value. And our mailing list is huge. I mean, we have over 100,000 subscribers, and we're constantly cleaning it as well, throwing off people who aren't engaging to keep those open rates, click rates really high. And then it's just about social media as well and building community. So we have big groups, big networking groups. Our biggest one is on Facebook with 42,000 members, our Skincare Entrepreneur Mastermind group. And then just constantly putting out really awesome content on social. And when you combine those things together, it's just this really potent formula for a very strong brand. And for me, it's more about the brand than the marketing in a way, actually. And I know that often people get very excited about digital marketing, but you can do digital marketing on steroids when you have an exceptionally strong brand that people really love and talk about. And I think a lot of our success has come through word of mouth. So that's been really exciting, getting to over $5 million in sales just really through organic marketing and building a brand. And now we're looking at it going, okay, we're only really scratching the surface here. What could we do if we went into paid? So now we're starting to look at our paid marketing strategy. We're setting up an affiliate program where people can promote our courses and get a commission for that. We're going to roll that out to our alumni. We have big plans to really move into the paid arena as well. And I think that will just put the growth on a whole new trajectory. And I think we'll be at 8 figures within a couple of years, to be honest.
Oh, so, 100%. I love that. That's so exciting. You have so much amazing stuff happening. This is really exciting. And I love that you use all of these different outlets to do that, especially around the free value and the free content, because I think there's a lot of talk, especially lately, that I've seen online that, how much is too much? You know what I mean? Like, how much is too much free value? But if it feels aligned to you, I almost feel like there is no right or wrong. You put out what feels good, you be where you want to be, and you do what you want.
Well, let me tell you this. Last year, we trained 140,000 people for free. And I say that to people, and they go, what now? Why did you do that? And I'm like, well, okay, but we signed up 4,000 paying students. And that's what got us to $5 million in turnover. It's just about the brand, the value, the content. Everything has to be absolutely perfect, but it works. So yeah, how much is too much? I don't know, the balance yourself. You don't want to give away the farm, but you also want to give away so much that people look at that and go, wow, if this is the free stuff, what must the paid stuff be like?
Exactly. It's so true. That's so key. And I think it's just, that resonates a lot with me as well, because I feel like, as someone who owns 2 businesses, your commonality is you. You know what I mean? And so the value that you give, what you share, your insight is so impactful and it's so important. And I just love that you prioritize that. I think it's really important. Very smart. This is my last question for you. And it's a question that I ask all of my guests when they come on the show. And it's, how can you create a little more happiness in your day, every day, starting today?
I thought about this one long and hard, obviously, when you sent me the questions beforehand. For me, the happiest I feel during my day is when I hug my children. And I sat there and I go, I think we all need more hugs in our life. Now, obviously, we're in COVID times and not everyone can do that. But I also hug my cat. I'm going to put that one out there. She's not a huge fan of it, but I still do it anyway. And I think that it just brings me so much joy and happiness to be able to connect to my loved ones that way, and to just be able to sort of go, oh yes, now I feel complete. Now my day is good. So I think everyone needs more hugs in their life. That's my answer.
I love that. Out of the 2 years that I've been asking this question, nobody has ever said hugs. So that is key. That's key.
There you go.
It's a really good point too, especially during these COVID times, because one thing that I've been thinking about for the last, last year, it's only been 1 year, is how much I missed, hugging my family, how much I missed that human touch from other people. You know what I mean? And it's like, it almost feels like it's like taboo. So I just, right now anyways, and I just love that you said that so much, because it really releases those endorphins. It really does make you feel happier.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. Cuddling my children is just the best thing ever. And, if they're not around, then my partner or my cat will do as well.
The backup, it's good. I love that. Lorraine, where can our listeners find you so that they can learn more about you and about your business as well?
So we're over at formulabotanica.com, and we have a free online formulation course on there. As you heard me say, we do a lot of free stuff. We've got a free masterclass coming up as well. Lots of exciting things on the horizon. You can also follow us at Formula Botanica on social media. We're on every platform, but we're most active on Instagram, and actually are really getting going on Clubhouse now as well. So if you want to come and chat to us there, we have our own club and host rooms there too regularly. And you can follow me on Instagram at Lorraine Dallmeier, and I talk on there about entrepreneurship and running Formula Botanica and lots of other cool things to do with sustainability.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
It was super fun. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the podcast. I hope you love this episode. Be sure to connect with Lorraine so that you can dive into all of her amazing content, everything that she puts out there, and really think about, what can you start in your own life, which is a very exciting thing. So wishing you an amazing week ahead. And remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it. Well, it looks like we've made it to the end of this episode. I'm so grateful for you tuning into this week's episode, and I cannot wait to see you over on the next one. If you loved this conversation and this topic as much as I did, please feel free to leave us a rating or a review wherever you're listening. It takes just a second, and it is so important for us so that we can make sure to deliver this content to those who need it. I'm wishing you the most beautiful day wherever you are in the world, and remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it.